Hello, welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how to create breakout rooms from your poll questions. If you're running an event where you're going to have to break out into groups to go and learn things, to do things, then doing it the traditional way of creating a room, assigning breakout rooms automatically is not good for you, because you want to put them into a certain place, you want to assign them in a certain way. You can do this before, but there is a much neater way of doing that, and that is to use poll questions. This allows the participants to choose their breakout rooms without feeling they're choosing breakout rooms, which can be a problem for many. Because we can ask a question, just like this. And we can use that answer to build a breakout room. And the questions can be anything you like. So you could say, what are you interested in? And you could put subjects in here. You could put whatever answers you like. So let's do this from scratch. For this process, I consider there are 4 separate steps. And these 4 steps do not need to be done at the same time, but the timing of them will obviously influence the experience of the people, and I will explain that as I go along. So we have the first process, which, as you can see, I've already done a couple already, and that is to create our poll question. Now remember that the title is for your eyes only. You'll see it on the poll questions, but the users are not going to see that. What they're going to see is this question. And it doesn't matter how you put the question in, because Zoom at the end of the day is only going to want to know the answers. Right, any question you like, and of course you also got the spell checker as well helping me out. There are my questions asked. Now, to make this a poll question for breakout rooms, you need to tick this box here. This is now a poll question. I don't want to upload an image. This is a poll question, and I can now save that. And there it is. Where do I want to save it? I'll save it to meeting polls because I want to use it now. That is step 1. Step 1 is to define the poll. Now we have the poll defined, the next step is to run the poll. And you run the poll like you would any normal poll. We just launch the poll, and then we wait for our attendees to make their answers. So I've got a couple of other computers here which I will make some answers to. And when I'm happy everybody's made their responses, I can end the poll in the normal way. And I immediately here have the option to create my breakout rooms from the polls. But I don't need to. I don't need to do it straight away. I have the option to do it straight away. I can go back to the list of polls, view the results later, and then create the breakout rooms, which is step 3. So step 2 is to run the polls. Now, what is the implication of when you run the polls? Very simple. If you run the polls early and other people attend your meeting after the poll has been run, then they're not going to get automatically sorted by Zoom. You're going to have to do it yourself. If people do not answer the poll, They're not going to be sorted by Zoom. You're going to have to do it yourself. So the choosing of the time when you run the polls is important for that reason. Probably most of you are not going to want to run the poll 20 seconds before you do the breakout rooms, but maybe you have a session before or you have a break before, and you can run the poll and give yourself 3 to 5 minutes maybe to just verify things are working correctly and run the polls then. What are the other issues you might have with the polls? Well, the most obvious one is the people answering the polls are everybody except hosts and co-hosts. Now, if your hosts and co-hosts are going to be involved in the breakout rooms in some way, and they are hosts or co-hosts when the poll runs, they will not get the opportunity to answer the questions, which means they won't be allocated by Zoom through the polls. And again, you will have to do them manually. So if you have people that are co-hosts and there's no reason for them to have that title, then remove their co-host permission and then run the poll, and they can answer the poll like everybody else. Some people have asked, what if I prepare a list of people beforehand? The answer is no. This is going to create a breakout room session, and it's going to overwrite anything else that you tried to set up. So if you want to play around with things, you need to do that in stage 3, which we're going to get to next. But you start with an empty allocation. Polls has created the number of rooms that are going to be built. The poll answers have allocated the people that have answered the question into those rooms. That data is now waiting for us. Now, we could run a completely separate breakout room if we wanted. We could start a breakout room and we could run a completely random breakout room, assign automatically, recreate, send them all into breakout rooms, bring them all back. Doesn't matter, because we've only done stage 2 or step 2 so far, which is to get the answers from people. And so at some point, it may be straight away, but at some point you're going to want to actually build the breakout rooms. Again, this is step 3, build the breakout rooms. It's not step 4, put them into the breakout rooms. It's step 3, build the breakout rooms. And the way we do that is we need to go back and get to our results. If we haven't got the results on the screen, we need to pull the results up. So I just clicked on View Results, and I now click on the Create Breakout Rooms button. Zoom only wants to ask you one question before it does this, and that is, how big do you want your breakout rooms to be? For most of us, for most situations, you've created breakout rooms because you want to divide the audience up into those rooms and allocate them those places. However, there are situations where some subjects or some rooms may be more popular than others, and maybe you have a limit to the number of people you want in a particular room for the sake of how well that room is going to operate. You don't want everybody in one room. You want them to have a limit to the number of people in the room so that you can manage that room. What will happen to the people that don't make it into that room? Well, like Zoom does it normally, they will be put into a duplicate room. So they will break up into whatever you want them to break up into. And the way you do that, of course, is you put, and I can't hear because there's only 3 of us, but you put a limit on the number of participants. So, for instance, we already know what the allocation is because we can see that from the answers here. So if we see that, 15 people have said, I want to talk about sport, and 22 people have said they want to talk about families, and you say, well, that's too many. So we're going to set a limit for 10, and that way we'll get 2 sport groups and we'll get 2 family groups, and they can then be in smaller numbers and have their conversations. So if you want to break the rooms up because there's too many people in one section, then you need to set that here. Of course, if you're going to have invigilators, team leaders, or whatever you want to call them, in charge of each room, you would then need 2 of them because you've now created multiple rooms for different things. But this is the point at which you set that. I don't want to set a limit. I just want the rooms created. So if I create the rooms, all that's happened now, no rooms have opened. All that's happened now is that the answers that were given in the polls have now been allocated to the rooms that have been created by Zoom for me. So this is step 3, stage 3, creating the breakout rooms. You have the ability, like you do in other breakout room scenarios, you've got the ability to move people and exchange people between rooms. So if there are mistakes, you can correct them. If you have people that couldn't allocate because they were a co-host, you can now allocate them as you would in normal circumstances. But of course, time has been saved because most people have pre-selected their rooms for you. The other section you need to look at when you're setting up your breakout rooms is the options. And too many people ignore these options, leave them as default, and I really suggest you don't do that. Let's go through them and I'll explain what I would use and where. Firstly, allowing participants to choose a room. Well, I wouldn't set that one because the whole idea here is we do it for them and we don't ask them to select. So I would not be ticking that one. It would completely undermine the whole use of rooms. If you have people that know what they want to do, then you can tick that box and they could have all chosen the rooms without having a poll question. But the idea here is that they don't want to worry about the technicalities of playing with breakout rooms. We just want to ask a poll question and put them in. So I won't tick that one. The next one is up to you. So allowing participants to return to the main session at any time is exactly what it says. So you put all people in the sessions, and then if they decide they want to come out for some reason, ticking this box gives them the option. Not ticking this box means the only option they have is if they want to leave the breakout session, they have to leave the entire meeting and then try and come back in again. So if you don't want them to come back early, which for quite a lot of groups you want them to do the work, study the work and whatever in their breakout rooms, you don't want them coming back early because maybe you're setting up the main stage for something new. Make sure that box is not ticked. They don't have the option to return. If they try and get back, the only way to do it is to leave, in which case they will hopefully turn up into the waiting room and you can hold them in the waiting room till it is time for everybody to return to the main stage. The next one is the one that people tend to miss, and this is the one where people complain it takes hours to get breakout rooms going. Tick this box to automatically move all assigned participants into breakout rooms. So simply by ticking this box, they are not asked if they want to go to breakout room 7 or breakout room can I talk about sport. They will be sent to that breakout room and then they will be asked for privacy consent when they get to that breakout room if applicable. So this is the magic button to tick in all circumstances when you want people to go to the breakout rooms that you've assigned, whether it's through this poll way or the traditional way. This is the button you always want to force people to go into the rooms, get them into the rooms straight away, no delay. This is the opposite, so this is getting people back, and I suggest you tick this to get people back from the breakout rooms into the main session when you're ready as well. The next one I'm going to be slightly controversial on, if I don't mind. This is a really neat idea, thank you Zoom, but in practice it's dangerous to use. This very simple box allows you to set a time limit for the breakout rooms. Now if you are certain that there must be a preset time and people must come back at the preset time and there are no excuses whatsoever for this rule to be changed, then please tick this box. But experience tells me that there are often situations where you don't want them to come back because maybe there's been a technicality and people didn't get their breakout rooms started in time, there were delays, you're running behind time, you're running in front of time. There are lots of reasons why this fixed time may not be the best thing. Now if you want to breakout rooms to close early, that's fine, you can close them early. But if you want to extend breakout rooms and you've ticked this box, you can't change this after you set it. Once you've opened the breakout rooms and you set a rule here, it's going to start a counter and there is no way to stop it. So personally, I always recommend not using this feature for 99% of cases. You can then choose to close the rooms at a time of your choosing, and if there are any exceptions, any issues, you've got a chance to control it yourself. Especially as this quite often defaults to 10 minutes for a lot of people, and then breakout rooms don't even finish and they all get kicked back. So please, I strongly suggest not ticking this box. And the last one is only a minor controversy. This is a countdown. That means that if you set the timer or when you decide to close the breakout rooms, people will not appear back into the main room immediately. They will have the amount of time you leave on this countdown clock before they are brought back into the room. This is another area where people complain that they don't get people coming back from breakout rooms in an orderly manner, and there's a delay, and they say, why is there a delay? This is rubbish, there shouldn't be a delay. Well, this is what causes the delay. If you don't want people to come back, no, let's do it the other end. If you want people to come back immediately, the timer is finished, immediately you say, then do not tick this button. If you would like to give them 5 or 10 seconds to realize the timer's going and to just finish sentences, which is what I do, then I would set this timer to 10 or 15 seconds. Because I think that is a reasonable amount of time you can to set. If you go to the other end and set it to 120 seconds, you're going to have to wait 2 minutes for people to come back from the room. Now that is fine if you want to give them plenty of time to finish their conversation and return to the meeting. But it also means that you will have to wait 2 minutes from when you ask them to return to the meeting for everybody to return. Once the countdown starts, people have the option to leave their breakout room and come back to the main room. So they will start appearing as soon as the timer starts, but those that ignore the timer will only be forced out when the timer reaches 0. So personally, I like to send it for 10 or 15 seconds. That's long enough for people to finish a sentence and then come back in an orderly manner to the breakout rooms. Again, because we've ticked this box, they're going to be brought back anyhow by the system. That is step 3. Just to review again, step 1, create the poll. Step 2, run the poll. So people decide what breakout room they're going to be in. Remember that those hosts and co-hosts will not be able to answer the poll question. Anyone who joins after the poll's run will not be able to be added to the poll question. Step 3, we've just finished, is to build the breakout rooms, to create the breakout rooms. But creating the breakout rooms is not using the breakout rooms. So again, there can now be a pause between this and the final step, step 4. And that means that if there turns out to be somebody who's in the wrong place or other people who need to be allocated, you've got time now to do that between now and when you open the rooms. There will come time though, eventually, when you're going to open those breakout rooms. And when you do, because of what we set here, my 2 esteemed laptops are going to be sent straight to their rooms. So they're both now trying to join their rooms. And one's in and the other one's in. And I know they're all in because if I look at my participants list, you can see that I'm the only participant left in the room. So everybody else disappeared, and you can see they're there because there's their allocation and there's the little green button to say they are in the rooms they are allocated to. So there we have it. There we have the whole process of getting people from polls to breakout rooms. What happens at the end? Well, let's just remind ourselves. In the options, I have left them. As you can see, I can't change these settings now. Although you can allow people to return to the room. So if you want to enable that in the middle of the session, you can. Never done it, but I can see there will be times maybe when people want to. But frozen in the options, including that automatically close, which I didn't set, is a 15-second timeout. So when I close the rooms, I know there's a 15-second delay. If they don't return immediately, there's a 15-second delay before the system will force them to do so. And so, the final step, you could say, would be step 4, to close all rooms. But before I do that, I want to share with you a bonus feature. It is possible now to plan another breakout session in Zoom before the previous one ends. Now we can't do it through polls, but we can do it the old traditional way of building an automatic random list or assigning people manually. So if you want to send people into another breakout session almost immediately at the end of a previous breakout session, you've now got the ability to plan that before the previous breakout session ends. Not a lot of people have noticed that this feature is here. It is really useful when you're going in and out of breakout rooms. Of course, you're going to say, John, can I go back into another set of breakout rooms with polls? The answer is you can't plan it while you're in this session, but yes, you can have multiple Q&As, questions. So let's close this meeting. And now warned, everybody's going to come back in 15 seconds because that's what I set. So they're now going to come back in 15 seconds. When the breakout room's finished, I could go in, I could pull up another set of poll results, and I could use that to build another breakout rooms. I can't at the moment. It's not highlighted at the moment because I've still got 3 seconds before it closes. So let's just watch the people coming back. There we are. You can see them appearing in the participants list. You can see the green buttons have disappeared for the breakout rooms. So that breakout room is now closed. I could go to one of my other poll results and I could now create breakout rooms from another set of poll results. I can check my options because the options will inherit what I had before, and I can send them back out into another set of breakout rooms. So there you are. If you're doing consecutive breakout rooms, you can do that pretty quickly. And they've all left from the participants list. They're all greens, they're all in the rooms. I've got the ability to allocate, join and allocate people all over the place. And then I can close those rooms as well. So there you are. There are still things that breakout rooms can't do. And at this point, I would very much plead 30 seconds of your indulgence to tell you that I am working on a Zoom Marketplace add-on which has some more features around managing breakout rooms. And I have to go through the process of getting it authorized by Zoom. We are recording this in the middle of July. The idea is that app will be tested, evaluated, and should be ready for public use before the September season starts. So look out for that in the marketplace. Look out for my videos wherever you saw this one, and happy Zooming to all of you from your Lord Zoom.